Those, those claims that people were making. Who got hit? My friend got hit. Give me his number. No, well, it's actually a friend of a friend. Okay, give me the number of a friend of a friend, but no. We could not establish anything. The point at which we said we can't really look the other way was when there were 50,000 people in a railway station waiting to leave the city. So, and following that, I think a part of the blame also has to be taken by people representing Northeast organizations. They fed the media with a lot of rubbish. You know, some did fall prey to it. Some of us exercised some amount of rigor. We said, okay, if this is a claim, we go to the ground. You know, show me the person who's done this. One moment, okay, cool. So anyway, that's the point about the media. Now, this thing about Facebook, SMSs, I don't know. I mean, there was a piece, there was an op-ed in the Hindu which traced the history of rumors and, you know, going back to, you know, the London exodus, you know, where people from outside London, okay, because of a certain series of nasty rumors, were forced to kind of leave the city. So my point is that I don't know if it is. I don't think I don't think it has anything to do with Facebook or SMSs. It could be smoke signals or drumbeats for all I care. You know, the failure. I think the failure has to be pegged at people who are capable of reining things in. By which I mean the police, the administration, the city administration could have done a hell of a lot. Now, from what I gathered on the ground, people were not running away because of the SMSs alone. People were also running away, and I'm not saying that there were no attacks. There were definitely attacks. People were running away primarily, I think, because when they went to the police, in the lead up to that evening that I talked about earlier, there were incidents where people went up to the police, tried to register cases, but the police did not do anything. Now, I've covered crime for some time, and I know that the police is wont to do that. I mean, that's the nature of the police. You know, they, as a force, as an institution, they're always, you know, you come with a visiting card of a local councillor and your FIR get registered like that. So there has been, I think that is where the problem needs to be pegged, and I think that is where, and people from the Northeast, don't forget, come from a place where the state machinery does not function as well as they would like to. They've seen the police, the army, and how they behave and how they can take sides. So I suppose that when they saw similar patterns in Bangalore, when they saw that the police was not exactly on their side, you know, they said, okay, fine, let's get the hell out of here. I think that's what happened, and I'm not saying this because I think so. You know, these are observations based on interactions that we had with people. You know, on people on the ground. They said, well, and Lawrence is here, Deepu is here, Manohar is here. You know, all of us were actually going into the ground, and we also have another role. I mean, when we get a call, it's not like we just report about it. I mean, there are times when we want to also intervene. You know, we went over there, we helped these people register FIRs, you know, pull people out of troubled situations. In all those cases, what was it? 100 was called. There was a list of phone numbers that were given. The police phone numbers were called. No response. So I don't know if it is as much to do with Facebook and SMSs as it is to do with the fact that the entire machinery just chose to look the other way. The motivations of which I'm sure some of you might have gathered already. I mean, of course, come on. I mean, it's Muslims we're talking about, and you know, it just plays into the entire agenda of the political dispensation that exists today. So I mean, we were discussing about how, you know, this is a perfect scenario for a certain set of people. You know, because they have Muslims over here who are supposedly playing through, who are the ones who are terrorizing people from the Northeast. Did they hold the police back? I don't know. Okay, so that's one point. The last one, of course, is again to do with everyone's talked about how there's a need to probably you know, the Northeast population needs to have assimilated better in Bangalore. I think that's a two-sided thing because I don't know. I mean, this is a question that people. Okay, just one last point that I'll wrap with this. When we were at the house of the Chief Minister, there were around 2,000, 3,000 people from the Northeast who gathered there, you know, to raise their grievances and talk about how they were feeling threatened and all of that. So the personal secretary of the Chief Minister said, okay, you know, bring forward your representative. And so 30 people stood up. And in the end of that, the tragedy comedy is that someone like a Lawrence becomes a representative of the Northeast people. You know, and he's not even, he's Chinese. He is, ask him. And that I think is a question that the Northeast need to ask of themselves. You know, and also definitely people who are from Bangalore need to ask as well. So that was a 3 quick points. Not really quick points. Thank you very much. So we were supposed to stop at a hard stop of 7 o'clock at 6:38. So we have about 22 minutes. I'm sorry we're not going to have much more time unless the speakers want to stay for more questions. So let's start with the first question. Do we have the cordless mics out already? Can you go to the lady in the second row? Please raise your hand and we have the mic down to where you are. Malini, please take a minute for the question.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm Malini Shankar, a wildlife journalist from Bangalore. I have one question. Subir's intervention was pretty comprehensive, but I cannot get the perspective on socio-economic conditions which caused exodus in the first place. Come to Bangalore. Mr. Lawrence was very, very articulate. It was a very nice speech. My question is, why didn't the media, why didn't the media cross-check the rumors? Social media, like you said, Facebook is a peer-to-peer communication tool. But then somebody had to cross-check. The media has to do gatekeeping and cross-check.
Alright, so why did the media not cross-check the rumors?
Malini, you said quite a few things. Which exact question you have for me?
About the socio-economic.
That would be quite canvas. The rumors. So my way of looking at rumor is something that is baseless. If it is baseless, you really can't really trace it down. So if there are rumors, there was no way that you could have tracked it down. If there were facts, that's a different thing. If those were facts, that would have been a different thing. But if you yourself are saying those are rumors, there are rumors. You can't pinpoint anybody. That was probably the reason why nobody could actually trace this.
One second, one minute.
So I got to interview here. Second question. Being in media, we don't like to cross-check.
That's a shame.
No. That is what is happening, and that is not the point that is the situation of the media in Karnataka. Okay, because for the reason that if we cross-check, so if we cross-check, then they will be losing the TRP's rates and everything.
What a shame.
That is a shame. That is why these situations are happening. So, the media is like that, and we have to intervene and we have to change the face of the media, the way they look and all that. So, I not only can the media, so all media, so that is happening.
Lawrence, can you answer that?
I must say that I have to agree with Sridhar on this one, which is that in this instance, I think the media did play a very good role. With the rare exception of a few papers where there was no cross-checking. And of course, it's difficult to kind of match up to the high standards that the Hindu and sets. I think in terms of the average, I think there was a pretty decent role that was played, because one of the clear dangers and fears that we were worried about was the counter effect that this would have in terms of people returning to the Northeast and to Assam, and the possible role of the inflammatory media there, and then the spillover effect. Thankfully, that didn't happen. And that didn't happen, I think, to a large extent because, in a lot of the electronic media, there were consistent kind of, warnings that were given out. There was also a lot of the downplaying and the withholding. And I think the best example of this is, when I think, 6 people were pulled off the train. When 6 people were pulled off the train, the media held back. And I think that was a really, really vital holding fact that they did. So I think in this instance, we're happy to say that the mainstream media actually did rather well.
Next question. So please keep to 1 minute.
1 minute, yes. The first thing I want to ask the question is that was it a rumor at all? Because from the newspaper reading, what I have noticed that is that it's a very well orchestrated evacuation. Because on the one hand, the media and the government was clearly telling there is nothing to worry, don't leave. They were organizing trains, special trains, and the kind of remarks were there, we cannot book ticket for everybody. And in fact, one could see that. That is one. And the second thing which I have noticed is that the media's inability to investigate a story thoroughly. In the instance of this refugee evacuation, I would like to use the word evacuation. The media was consistent and sober, I do agree with that, but they have not investigated the basis of rumor itself.
So can I already asked 2 questions, let me ask them to answer that.
One more, see, like, I just want to connect it with the reportage of Kudakulam. In fact, there are 2-3 different kinds of report on Kudakulam and agitation and all that, where the Kanikaran and all that literally misrepresented the agitation because the movement turns violent. Hindu reported it pretty neatly, but what has happened is that the very next day, Hindu forgot the story itself.
Alright, so he's asking whether it was an organized evacuation, number 1. He also asked why there wasn't sufficient investigation into it. Sudhi, can you take a call on his first question? Was it an organized evacuation?
It would be extremely unfair for me to pass a judgment on that, given the amount of facts that I have in hand. But yeah, the grounds for suspicion are very much there. It suddenly happened at around 11 a.m. on the 15th of August. Something fishy was certainly. That much I can vouch to say.
I think that's a tough one. I mean, just like it's very easy to blame the media, I think there are 2 other easier targets at here. If you are a part of the Hindu right, then of course you want to believe that there was a concerted conspiracy by Muslims to attack people in the northeast. If you are from the left secular, you want to believe that this was of course a part of the Hindutva agenda. That we are doing in a BJP state, it makes sense because this is a great time in which one can attack Muslims as a result of this fear. I think that I'm not entirely sure of the 2 grand conspiracy theories that are available to us. If there was a local, if there was some kind of a local animosity that was articulated, it clearly wasn't a larger plan there, or perhaps not even anticipated in terms of the kind of response that there was. If this was a Chatti conspiracy, again, I'm not sure. I'm sure they milked it, as we all saw from their presence in the police station, in the railway stations. But I would be hesitant to assert confidently that this is a conspiracy. I think the larger question, which is there is that how does it allow for the creation, in some sense, of a kind of a political ontology of fear? When we were in the mosque in one of the meetings, one of the Muslim gentlemen actually said something very interesting. He said, "मुझे पता नहीं है कि northeast लोगों को डर क्यों लग रहा है? डर तो हमें लग रहा है." And this is a real number because the presence of 20,000 cops, CRPF, Rapid Action Force, perhaps unprecedented in India, where even before one person has died or even any person has been seriously injured, that you have the CRPF and the RAF on the road, on the streets with guns. And that, I think, in terms of the politics of fear that one can play on, that clearly one can identify. But to identify the conspiracy in terms of the originary moment, we need a lot more work before we can play that.
Okay, let me ask all of this question because this actually relates to what he said. One angle that came up in our story, which we did on Citizen Matters, was the lack of an organized political leadership for the northeastern folks in Bangalore that they could trust. This is sort of linked to Sudipto's point. If there was one or two leaders they could trust who would tell them not to go, it was more likely they would not have left as opposed to, because they didn't trust the police and the other authorities anyway. Is that a fair assessment or do you think that's not the case?
No, I really wouldn't think so. Now, our boys and girls are not really that much of a severe loss. I mean, you need to understand the fact is that these boys and girls come from a region where rumors always spread thick and fast, where chaos and violence rule supreme. I mean, you really think they got so scared that they just fled overnight just like that? There must have been something else. I mean, I've been living here for just about 5-6 months. It's extremely difficult for me to pinpoint something. Probably I'm at an extremely disadvantageous position now.
I have just, I'd like to make some comments. One comment is that Lawrence is clearly pretty academic. would keep you away from action. Okay, and I think such a theory, though I sometimes indulge so much into it, would be very carefully presented before the audience. The other thing is that we should question, as Ghosh has said, not jump to too much of conclusion, but incidentally,